Mr. Kurtigram, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. What's happening?
Just a bloke living life in the world, making my way, learning on the daily how to be a dad and what that's like.
Yeah.
It's going well. How are you? You've been a bit under the weather.
Yeah. Last couple of weeks have been pretty crook. So, I think didn't get COVID, but I got maybe its brother kind of knocked me around a bit, and we just had to push through, get through the shoots, and then sleep every other minute I could just to try and sleep it off. But yeah.
No,
definitely. Well, the flus are getting worse, I think.
I think it's going around down here as well. Jem just had a flu vaccine, and I don't know when the last time, we're all getting flu vaccines now, as well as like the COVID-19 stuff. So it's it's definitely happening. But yeah, it feels like ages since we've done this. It feels like I think I've done a couple of solo pods in a row, and then before that we had filmed a couple in a row.
Yeah.
To get them out ahead of time. So it's probably been a month or something. So welcome back officially.
Exactly. I've just been viewing you from afar. Every week I'm waiting for you to upload the video of just you. So I'm excited. When's it going to come out? Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I have to do is I have to find out what the actual best time to upload is, because I used to do it every Friday morning, and then the hardest thing is to line up our schedules so I could have enough time to get it up by Friday morning. But then, once I started to upload Sunday, it's been going up every Sunday sometime before midnight.
Yeah. Exactly. It's just great. As soon as something clicked in your mind that said, hey, I don't need to upload it Friday, I can upload it on the weekend. And then, it's really hard to rein yourself back to get that schedule locked in for that Friday, but again, it's a mission to have to edit any kind of podcast for any more than half an hour, I'd say. So you're doing a good job to get them out weekly.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Yeah, it's not a hard edit, but just you have to be attentive. You have to listen all the way through. And last week I uploaded it and did everything, and it takes ages to process on YouTube as well. Anyway, I got all the way through, and then I saw there was a couple of typos in it, and I was like, oh my god. So anyway, but I haven't missed. I've done it every week. I'm very proud of that. I talk about that all the time, but I think about it all the time. And let's keep it rolling. All right, this week I want to talk a little bit about money, and I want to talk about minimalism. Two things that I think quite a lot about, and I think they're two areas that I pride myself at being quite good at. And I'm not saying that I make squillions of dollars, but I think I'm very deliberate where and how I spend my money. I spend, I don't think I'm tight with money. I spend on things that really matter, and there's a lot of things that a lot of other people spend money on that just don't matter to me. So I save a lot of money in that regard. Just as little. I know you're not much of a drinker as well, but drinking alcohol, drinking coffee, think about how much money people spend on those things during the week. Anyway, I want to apply that a little bit to our photographic lives as well, and I think that would be an interesting riff. So let's start there, and let's roll that little bumper tune. First of all, I want to know, it can be outside of photography or it can be in your career, but I want to know, is there a part of your life where you think you're wasteful?
I would say, I just when I get into something, whether it's a hobby or a profession or whatever, I always have this desire to have the best of the best, because technically then I have nothing that's holding me back from being the best. Yeah, it probably sounds dumb, but yeah. So for me, it's like doing the band stuff. It was I'd always have really good equipment. Everything I had was, um, yeah, top of the range because I needed to do a job, and I needed to trust my equipment. So technically, the more expensive the equipment is, the less it'll fail, or yeah, you can just trust it a bit more. So
You'd
for
hope
me, it's
so.
like
Yeah.
I've always yeah, exactly. So I've always spent money on good equipment, no matter what I was doing. Even if I'm running, same kind of thing. Like I'll buy the best shoes I can get because um, not that I'll technically go faster, but it'll be more supportive for my feet. And yeah, I just like having good equipment, because then I think I am very performance based, so I can get the best out of anything that I have.
It's a slippery slope though, isn't it? Especially when you find a
Yeah,
new
it,
hobby.
it really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like, I would say, playing in a band, the expensive part wasn't band practice or going on tour. It was always funding the next guitar or funding the next amp. Like I would honestly say I would have spent easily 50 grand on band equipment, you
Yeah.
know, and that's being generous, I would say, and especially for a broke ass musician, like that's all the money you have, over X amount of years. It's not like I did it all in 1 year, but um, yeah, especially when you start to get up, levels where you are running in ears on stage, and yeah, everything it's really more production value. So everything kind of just costs money, and that's when you start investing in other people as well, like sound guys or same as photography. It's like you start investing in an assistant or digi.
Yeah. Makeup artist, stylist, all that stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, that's actually a pretty good crossover, I reckon, because I sort of had mentioned minimalism at the top here, and I think at a certain point, like relating to photography as well, but I like that you went down the band route there because as you as you work out what you need and you work out ways to be more efficient in what you do, obviously, like you said, to have the best and to always to keep up with the technology and to keep up with what the best is, it is expensive, but it in a way it's also being more deliberate about what you have, because I can only assume that once you guys got heavy into touring, like would you guys be using like profilers? Do you guys use like
Yeah,
camper or
exactly. Yeah,
axfx
yeah,
or something?
yeah,
So
yeah,
like that costs a bomb, I'm sure, but it also probably saves you a lot of time and money and space in the long
exactly.
run from lugging
Yeah,
heads and cabs. And I imagine you guys just have a little rack you take around, and wherever you go, you can plug
exactly.
it in
Yeah,
straight into the
yeah. So
venue.
for us, it was just the rack kind of just. I mean, it just housed everything. So then that way you could just carry a couple of racks, and then that's it. You're not carrying around cabs anymore, stuff like that. But again, that's just because we wanted to evolve with the technology that was available. Um, and that's the thing, you still can play with 5150 and a cab, and it's still awesome. But um, as far as traveling and stuff like that, it's really hard to travel with that unless you're on the road. And again, time is money, so you can't always get time off work. There's yeah. So I think spending spending money within whatever career you have is always classed as an investment, unless you're just spending money where you don't need to, right? So you've got excessive gear, which I never try to have. I always try to only buy gear when I need it for the job. So if
Yeah,
I've got a job that's coming up and I need, a big 3 meter scrim, for me, I always think, okay, I've needed that once. I would rather buy it outright, so then I can then have it for every shoot, um, rather than hire it, because the hire cost, say for the day, could be $300. and the
It's
total
probably a
cost to
third of what
buy
the screen costs. Yeah,
exactly would be $1,000. So
yeah,
for me, it's like I invest back in the business like a lot, and that's the thing. I think with photography, I've invested so much back into the business or equipment. So, you know, it's maybe not as lucrative as some people think, or if people think you're making heaps of money, that there's always something that you got to pay for. Subscriptions.
yeah.
So again, yeah, there's just a lot more to think about, I guess.
I lost it. I was going to say something about your rig. I've always felt that way about the hire situation, though, because I mean, not that I've had, you know, a ton of shoots come through with big budgets that would allow, for thousands of dollars worth of hires, but I've always thought that
Yeah.
way, and it's very against the old school mentality. But I think it's because the way that things used to be with studios and even agencies hiring places, that gear used to be much more expensive than what it was. Now there's so much more competition and innovation, and it sort of has made everyone better and made everyone sort of tighten up their act a bit. So, like 10 years ago, you would have had to drop, I don't know, what would a set of Broncolor or Profoto have been? It might have been 20 grand or something.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, like to get an Octabox or something, it might have been 2 or 3 grand, or a big softy, probably a similar thing. Photography equipment, we take for granted now how many alternatives there are and how cheap it's become comparatively.
Oh, for sure. It's so accessible these days. That's the thing. I can order something on Amazon and it'll be here the next day. So, and it would be with a lot of those, say, newer products, NEEWER, they makes just products that are fairly good quality, and they're cheap enough that if it breaks, you just buy another one, and it's here next day from Amazon.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I feel like I don't have an excessive amount of gear for all the stuff that I actually shoot or cover. It's just I'll only buy the equipment when I need it. So I just don't have any extra gear. Every time I do a photo and video shoot, my van's packed with everything I own, just because I might need something. But again, it's not excessive. It's just like, it's literally, that's the gear that you need to do the job. I'm not, it's not anything extra. It's literally just, okay, I need to shoot some underwater stuff. Okay, I've got my housing. Or I need to do some drone stuff. Okay, chuck the drone up. But it just gets super expensive. So I don't feel like anyone really in the industry is buying more than they need, because no one can actually afford it, right? Like, who can afford to have, well, I don't know, I'm just speaking from generally the people that I work with and see, like, and a lot of people have to buy it up here because the rental companies up here, there's no real rental houses or anything. There's a couple of gaffer dudes where they'll have that whole truck. But again, you're looking at $1,800 a day just for them to rock up and set up some lights. So it really depends on your budget, what equipment you have, and what you actually need for the job.
Yeah. As a bit of a very specific example of like rent versus buy, like let's say you came down to Melbourne and you wanted to rent a paper roll for Sun Studios. To rent a paper roll, $120. To buy a paper roll, about $140 probably.
Exactly, yeah.
It's just like, what's the point? Like, the only reason you do that is if maybe I guess if you're coming from interstate, you can't take it home. That's the only reason you do it.
But the issue also is that's not delivered. They don't deliver it to your set.
They
Or do they?
Yeah, well, they can.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's okay. That could be okay.
Oh, maybe
That's
it's
where
a
it'd be
little bit of an extra
justifiable.
cost, but I'm pretty sure most places would deliver for a fee.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, again, I guess it depends on the situation. I guess like the start of this year when I was traveling around, we would just get a paper roll in whatever state it was and just have
Yeah.
to buy one and then just leave it with whoever wants it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it's the end of a paper roll and then it gets destroyed and then you don't have to take it anyway. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah, I think we did up in North Queensland, up at Airlie Beach. We rang around everywhere to try and get a paper roll, and like there was one person in the whole of Airlie Beach that actually had one, and we ended up leaving the stands with her and everything, like because it was just too much to take home. Yeah, so we
Yeah.
left her the paper roll and some other backdrop that we didn't need because, yeah, we're just like, yeah, I think whatever she charged us was still cheaper than buying one or shipping one in or whatever it was. Yeah, but it
There's
was so hard
actually
to get.
there's
No,
actually a
no one had
shortage
them.
in Australia at the
Yeah,
moment. For whatever reason, the shipments, literally the shipments from China have been delayed. I don't know about
yeah, they're
Superior,
not.
but Savage, who's what we use,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
because I've been trying to replace a couple at work and a couple at home,
yeah.
but actually a big shortage in Australia at the moment. Supposedly in the next couple of weeks they're going to finally come back in stock.
So
But
they're
yeah,
not cutting down enough trees. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. Do you know what? Speaking of cutting down enough trees, someone told me recently that in terms of like bringing timber into Australia, there are ships coming in, arriving in Australia, getting to port, and literally turning around because someone else, like China, for example, will offer more money for the timber. So the ship will literally make its journey across the sea,
Wow.
arrive,
And
and
go,
turn
it's
straight
worth
around.
it to just leave.
Yeah, how crazy is that?
Imagine doing that at a job. You rock up, you're just about to set up, and then someone else gives you a call.
Someone else dangles
Oh,
the
hey, look,
carrot.
yeah. Can you shoot today? And you just go, yeah, no worries.
There's something just so fundamentally wrong about that. I understand it's business and whatever, but there's just something as a person to another person. There's something so morally, ethically wrong
Yeah,
about
you
that, isn't
can't do
there?
that.
Yeah, I'm talking
Yeah,
about the ship with the timber. Like that's crazy talk. Yeah, but the world is a strange place at the moment, man. We're just taking tangent after tangent here, but this is going to be a little bit of a random one. Okay, we can relate it back to money. The stock market and the crypto market has taken a huge dive this week. It feels like we may be on the brink of something interesting.
So I haven't checked my crypto in like I would say 2 months. Like since that last little dive, I pretty much just like forgot about it.
Good.
So I
Yeah.
wouldn't know what's happening. I'm just gonna check it like in a year's time. So
Yeah,
yeah,
or 5.
I think I was just like looking at it way too often as well. You know, like, and I would rather be looking at how to retouch better or whatever. I just
Yeah.
feel like it was. I would say the stats were I was on it more than any other social media or anything. Like I was on it more than Instagram, more than Facebook, more than YouTube. Yeah, it was crazy.
It's
All because I
intoxicating.
was like, I'm gonna make money, and it's like, well, I'm going to work to make money, which I know is guaranteed money. Whereas like the crypto stuff, I still didn't understand it enough to be, you know, balling out and buying a house. So
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Very interesting. It's actually where I don't know if this is the time or place to be talking about this, but where um, we've had some money put aside for Zig, and I've been trying to work out what to do with it, what the responsible thing to do with it. I don't want it to just sit in a bank account, and I'm thinking some form of split it between some shares
investment,
and a little bit of
yeah,
crypto, and hold it for 20, 30 years until he's ready to
yeah,
buy a
yeah,
house, and then we can give it to him then. And, you know, all things considered, it's probably a great time to do that. If the market's just taken a huge dip, I can only imagine that it's going to be sliding at least for some time. But, you know, that's when the money is made. The money's not made in the bull market. The money's made when everyone else is fearful and greedy. Yeah. Okay, let's reel it back in just a little bit. I want to know what's something that you spend money on now that you would never have spent money on in the past.
But before doing photography,
I suppose just before operating at the level that you're at now, what's something now that is totally worth it that felt like a rip-off in the past?
I would say subscriptions to apps or to you know, photo, whatever it is, you know, photo based or video based kind of apps, you know, that I can mock something up or have a look at it. When I first started, I didn't even want to pay for, you know, everyone back then had just cracked versions of Photoshop and Lightroom. So it was, whereas now, you know, obviously I'm lucky enough or privileged enough to just be able to pay a full subscription. Like, I know that sounds stupid, but it's like, it still is $76 a month. Like, that's still a fair chunk of money, just to have an app on your computer. So I think I try to justify a lot of those things now, just because I'm like, well, you know, I use these things every day. So, you know, or even Spotify. Like, I never had Spotify Premium, because I didn't want to pay the money. Yeah. So I'd say a lot of the things would be subscription based, you know. To be honest, I don't buy anything. Like, all I buy literally is camera gear or film. Like, me and Cara, you know, if we're going to go into this minimalism thing, like, I would be such a big fan of living in a tiny house and only having the bare basics. But unfortunately, like, the amount of gear I need to operate is so much. So I don't, what me and Cara have done, we've actually said that we can buy one item of clothing, I think it is, like, every quarter. So for the whole of this year, just because, like, dude, there's two of us and we have more clothes than, like, we've ever needed to, you know, whether that be purchasing clothes or getting them sent to us by, you know, brands. It's just like, we've just always had too many clothes between us. So we did a big clean out last year and just bags and bags and bags of clothes that, you know, we'd never worn or that we'd worn once. So for us, a big thing moving forward was just to be like, hey, we're not going to buy, you know, excessive clothes. Like, if we need to go to a wedding or something where we're a guest and there's a dress requirement, then we'll buy an outfit. But we're just trying to limit it to just one kind of purchase every quarter. And so far, it's been, what are we? In the 5th month. So I would say I've literally bought nothing. Like,
you're
in
due
the
for
last
a t-shirt.
That's the thing, because I just buy the same t-shirt anyway, just a different color. I'm like, I can easily live with that. Oh, actually, I bought these corduroy pants. So
nice.
I've bought like one. Exactly. I bought like one thing. So it's like, you got to be conscious when you're running your own business as well, just of what you spend and stuff money on, you know. But I agree with the whole minimalism thing. Like, I just have too much shit, and that's why I say to Car every month, I'm like, hey, look, the band hasn't done stuff much, you know, since COVID. Can I just sell my gear? And she's like, no, don't sell your gear, because then when you want to play again, you'll have to rebuy it, and like, it's just gonna be a pain in the ass. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but it's just sitting here. Like, I would rather it gone, like, out of my sight, you know.
I have to say the in my personal life, I'm very, very deliberate about the things that I own. Like, if you were to open my cupboard, even when my cupboard is a mess, there's not enough in there for it to be a mess. what you described before with if there's an event that you need a piece of clothing for, that's when you grab it. Or if you have it, you even mentioned before, if you have a gig coming up that you need that 9-foot scream for, that's when you grab it. And that is in like the business world, in, you know, like management terms, they call it what is it, JIT instead of JIC, management, inventory management, just in time instead of just in case. Like ideally, you know, if you're managing a business, if you need stock or inventory for your business, you don't actually want to spend all of your funds up front and then have that stock sitting around not doing anything, because you're not going to sell 200 units in the next week. You might only sell 30 in the next week. So if you can have stock arriving just as you need it in time to sell out from that last bit, then you're not actually wasting precious space in your warehouse. But that applies to our lives as well, because it's not just about do I have somewhere to put this, it's about do I have the mental space and you know, the energy to have all of this stuff in my life. Because I don't know about you, but if I'm in a cluttered environment, I actually feel physically anxious. So at the moment, I had a big shoot today, and had to bring a bunch of my own gear to work for this shoot, and I was pulling shit out of the cupboard that I haven't pulled out in ages, and so my room is a mess, and literally in the back of my mind it's eating away. I can see it in my peripherals, and it's actually affecting me physically to have all this stuff here. So in my personal life, I'm very deliberate. Over time though, with gear, it does just build up, and you just end up with cables and chargers and grip and clamps and this and that. And I have to say, on my dad leave a few weeks ago, I pulled out a bunch of shit, and I just decided that there's just stuff that is not serving me, stuff that I have no value with. And, you know, in the space of a couple of days, you know, just little bits and pieces. There was nothing major that I sold. I ended up with probably like $1,200 cash in my pocket, just from stuff in the cupboard. Do you ever move stuff along, or do you hoard it? Are you a just in case kind of guy?
I hoard it only because I'm too lazy to put it on somewhere. You know, dude, I filled up a big box maybe at the start of the year, just of all this random camera gear that would be helpful to someone. You know, like obviously I bought it at some point in my time, and it would be so useful to some people, but I just like literally put it back in the cupboard, you know. So the box is like there, and then every now and then I'll pull something random out of it, but then it'll kind of go back in there. So it's not like I just have gear that, you know, when I was early days just buying gear because I thought it might be a good accessory or something, you know, where it's like now, again, every purchase I do is purposeful because I know exactly what I need and I've researched the hell out of it. So I've got only what I need. But again, like after shoot and just I guess being overbooked, it's like I'll come home and dump all my stuff on the ground, charge what I need to charge, and then you kind of pack what you need for the next day. So at the moment, you know, my office can go like a month without me physically sitting back in it because I've been shooting. And then if I come home, I'll just edit on my laptop in the lounge room or somewhere else. So it actually serves as a dumping ground rather than like this clean space. So it's quite hard for me to even walk into the room because I'm like, I don't want to go in there, like, because
100%.
I really want to just clean it, but I don't have time to clean it to then start work. It's like I just have to work. Yeah. So it's kind of tough having too much shit. You know,
there is one thing that I'll say, and I think in general you are someone who does have a lot of gear, and there's sort of a misconception around minimalism, I think, and people think minimalism means getting rid of all your shit or cleaning out your cupboard or garage or whatever. But minimalism, I don't know if this is up for debate, but to me, what minimalism actually means is being deliberate about what you own. So if you have something that you love, that serves you, that, you know, gives you value, brings you joy, you shouldn't get rid of it, because that's an important, you know, that actually has a place in your life. It's just like you said, when you have a cupboard full of stuff that, you know, you'll never use, or you can't be bothered going through and listing up to put on Facebook Marketplace, but it's too good to throw away. That is when it's not, you know, that is just clutter. I'm not trying to call you out here. I'm just trying to use as an example. Minimalism is actually about being deliberate. It's not about just throwing shit away or just having nothing on your desk. You know what I mean? It's funny, even on YouTube, I feel like minimalism now, it's not as trendy as it was a few years ago. It was in every single title a few years ago, but now on YouTube, minimalism is actually used to describe a style, and minimalism for a lot of YouTubers actually involves buying things that look minimal to put in their space. And you know, I'm not exempt from that. I think, you know, I like things for their aesthetic and for their minimalist design, but, you know, really when it comes down to it, it's about being really clear and just deliberate about what the things that you own, and, you know, that way your things don't own you, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
On the topic of being deliberate and meaningful with the way that you spend it and you live, are there any areas that you can think of that you can improve your life? You know, purchases, places you can allocate your funds that will improve your life. Anything come to mind?
Well, specifically for me, just because I run my own business, I need to transport everything. So for me, I guess what was the biggest expense was a brand new van, and it was just worth every dollar, because I'm able to get wherever I need to go and just have my gear on me all the time pretty much. So it's a very purposeful vehicle, you know, whereas I never really understood, you know, I'd see bass players driving around in two-door cars and they couldn't even fit their bass cab in the boot or their, you know, bass laid across the seat all the way to the back. So for me, it's like I needed to get something that was actually usable rather than buy a fast car or anything like that. It was just, a smarter decision to spend money on having a van that was capable of carrying everything needed to. So it makes my life way easier, because you're not storing stuff somewhere else, or you're not, moving your baby seat so you can put in your gear to go to work. So I feel like it was such a good investment.
That's a good one, because a van is something you can actually claim as a business expense. You can claim it as a work car. Yeah. I'm not exactly sure how that works in terms of accounting. Do you have a different car that you drive outside?
No, so I think it's like you can claim, again, I don't know the figures, that my accountant sorts that out, but, you know, maybe it's like 80%, because Cara has a car. So if we do things, and technically we'll take her car as a family car and not a business car. So but it's like dude, I guess the shit thing is that I work pretty much every day. So like my car is being used for work, you know, like at least 80%.
Yeah. I think for me, it would be things like, in the past, I've always been very hesitant to pay someone to do something that I feel I could do myself. Yeah. And now I realize that it's such a cliche to say, you know, time is valuable, or time is more valuable, because, you know, I think you could argue it either way. But for me, going forward, I think I want to spend more money, on things like getting someone to help me film content for the channel, or, you know, there's certain things I want to do and I just need to step up with that next level of production. And it's going to be, I think, much more valuable for me to spend, rather than spend months trying to do something on my own, trying to film, you know, these bigger pieces of content that I want to create over time, trying to do that on my own as a one-man band to save some money. I think it's actually going to be probably worth it to spend a couple of grand or whatever it is and get someone else on board to do that for me, you know. And if that saves me literally days or weeks of my time, then it just it just makes sense. Particularly now my time is more scarce than it ever has been, you know, between family, job, freelance, YouTube channel, plus, you know, trying to fit a social life in there as well. You know, little things like I think it was just this last year is the first time that I've properly paid an accountant to do my taxes, because you know, it wasn't that difficult in the past. Most of my income has come from my job, but now it's split a few different ways, plus you know, got married last year and all of that, so that's certainly something that you just mentioned as well, that your accountant looks after that stuff. That to me is well worth the money spent.
Oh, for sure. Honestly, like having a dedicated accountant is it means you don't have to think about that stuff. You know, there's no way I can handle any of that stuff.
Yeah. There's probably something else that I was about to say that I've forgotten. Such is my life. I think that's a good place to end it there. Yeah. Anything else you want to contribute, or we snap it off, as they say?
No, it's pretty good. I mean, like, I believe in the whole minimalism thing, and just like, you know, having purposeful spending. But then also I agree in like not having too much gear or excessive shit. So, I mean, it's a pretty good topic. And also you can't spend money if you're not making money. So that's a hard thing as well. So that's why I said earlier, like, you know, I'm privileged to even have subscriptions and have an accountant and stuff like that, because I know how tough it is when you're first starting out to like be able to afford anything, you know, let alone new gear, let alone, you know, an accountant or subscriptions to anything you want. So
that's one thing though that
tough.
I think is definitely a big challenge about that early photography journey, is that you are always dreaming of that next thing. And it's funny, in your early 20s, or maybe even at school in your late teens, and to be fair, I've got some friends that do it a little bit older than that, but it's just like the mentality is that if you let's say you want a lens that costs $1,000, it's like you save $1,000, and then once you have $1,000, then you spend it on the lens. Like, that's not actually how that should work. You know, you shouldn't be spending exactly the amount of money that you had. Technically, you know, if you want to buy something, you should probably have, I don't know, 4 or 5 times that amount in the bank behind you. Just something that I suppose comes with maturity, and when you have some more responsibilities and some more dependence, you work out pretty quickly that that's not the way to go. Maybe it can slide if you live at home with mum and dad and you don't have too many bills to pay. But purposeful spending, and I think very healthy to have a bit of a purge a couple of times a year. I know I used to on Facebook a couple of times a year. I just do a big sell off. At one point I sold all of my film cameras. Just as I progress and you know, upgrade and whatever, sell a bunch of stuff. And if you're friends with me on Facebook, you know that I tend to sell things pretty quickly, pretty cheaply. And if it can go to somewhere, if it can go to a friend and someone that I know and love, all the better. And I'm so much happier to just get rid of it for cheaper rather than just deal with the lunatics on Facebook Marketplace, because they're insane. All right, mate, thank you for joining me once more. It's nice to have you back. Nice to have a bit of call and response going rather than just yelling into the void like I have been the last couple of weeks. Thank you so much for watching, for making it all the way through to another episode. If you've enjoyed this session, leave us a thoughtful comment down below and give us a thumbs up on the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.